I think if I had to try to boil down one or two characteristics for the most successful people I know, I think one would be determination, a real belief in what they're doing and a drive and an energy that makes them never ever give up. I think that's probably the one. And then I think the other would be an understanding of how they relate to the world around them and an ability to adapt to the pace of change. I think when people and businesses are going through really difficult economic times, as they have been for the last year or two, I think obviously having that quality of determination is probably even more important than ever. Being able to adapt to change circumstances is important. But I think the ones that who are going to succeed and prosper are the innovators, the people who realise that when you've been through something as seismic as the economic collapse, then all sorts of fallout is going to come. Some of it bad, but some of it will be good for those individuals and those companies that can see the new opportunities as they emerge. So I think it's having that determination, understanding the nature of change, and then just spotting the place for innovation. Well, I've had two careers really. Well, I've had three careers in a way: a journalist, then in politics and working for Tony Blair, and then what I call a kind of post-politics, post-journalism portfolio sort of life. So the three, they've been very different, but they've all had connections. And I think when this may sound odd for some people, but when I think about the whole lot of it and I put it together, I think one of the reasons I've been able to do the things that I've done is because I had a nervous breakdown in the mid-80s. It was a horrible, horrible event in my life, but it was the thing that really got me to work out who I was and what I wanted to do and, if you like, what I was for. And whenever I've had challenges since then, I've always felt a challenge. So, for example, when Tony Blair asked me to work for him, virtually everybody around me was advising me not to do it. My family, my partner, my parents, most of my close friends, both in politics and people outside politics. But I sort of felt the challenge. I felt that I had to do it. And I knew that the pressures would be intense, but I always had this yardstick to compare it with, which was the pressures that had led me to crack up in the past. And I don't know whether that makes much sense to somebody who, you know, most people I think do have some sort of experience of the mind playing tricks with them. But I kind of look back on that now and I think actually, thank God I got through it. And thank God I managed to rebuild from it and learn from it as well. Even though I've spent quite a lot of the last few years transcribing and writing and publishing my diaries, which are essentially looking back, I don't play the hindsight game that much, because I think you can, I think about the past and I reflect on things that we did and how we did them and whether we might have done them differently. I think if I could have done the job that I did in government without getting our relations with the media so bad, I'd have been happy with that. That being said, I'm not sure what I could have done that differently, given who I am, given the sort of job I was doing, given the pressures we were facing, given the way that the media is. I'm not sure I could have done that differently. But it would be in that area. It would be in that area of where the relations between politics and the media just became so poisoned. We're all complicated. We've all got a mix of characteristics that are enduring, and we're all able to adapt to greater or lesser degrees to our circumstances and how we develop. I've always been interested in words, and I love language. I love the English language, and I probably love the French language even more, but I love words. So I think a lot of what I've done in journalism, in politics, particularly in writing, whether it's speeches or arguments, whatever it might be, and also in my post-politics life, in writing books, novels, and my diaries as well, words have always been a fundamental part of my life. I think I am quite determined. I think I'm fearless in a. I don't mean this in a stupid way. I mean, if that part of the room was not on fire and that part of the room was on fire, I would go that way. I wouldn't stupidly run through the fire. But I think if there was the fire there and at the other side of the fire was something that I had to get to and I felt inside I really need to get to it, I would run through it. So I think there's a fearlessness there which is important. And I think the other thing I'd say is I think I'm a team player. I've always thrived when I've been working with other people, for other people, having other people work for me. And one of the things I'm proudest of actually is that when, after all the time that I spent at a fairly senior level in the political and government machine, lots and lots and lots of people have been out there from time to time sort of, giving me a whack. I don't think any of the people who ever worked for me have. And I'm quite proud of that because what it says to me, and I keep in touch with a lot of them, what it says to me is actually they felt they were part of a team. They didn't just feel they were there as kind of slaves who were being told what to do and get on with it. They felt they were part of a team. And so I think that's an important part of what I've done as well. I think if somebody really has a yearning and a dream to succeed at something, I think the first thing they've got to ask themselves is, do they really, really, really want it? I meet lots of people who say, I want to do this, and my dream is this, and my dream is that. When you really press them as to what they're doing to achieve it, you kind of come to the conclusion, maybe they don't really, really feel it. So I think the first thing you've got to say is, do you really, when you say you want something, do you really want it? Once you've decided that you do, I suppose the risk of sounding like a Nike advert, you really do just have to go for it. And you have to try to build the relationships and the connections. And the thing I'd say is never, ever push away a possible opportunity to help you towards it. Now, a possible opportunity might be the person that you end up sitting next to on the train. Because when you sit down and they're there, you don't know who they are, you don't know anything about them. But actually, you might find that they've got something to say that relates to what you're doing. So I think I would say hoover knowledge, hoover experience of other people, hoover expertise. But you've got to feel it inside. You've got to feel that you really, really want to do it. I think the world is full of things going wrong, and the world is full of bad stuff going on, but the world is also full of people who do yearn to do stuff, and they do it. If you think of how many people do set up their own enterprise and it's successful, how many kids there are out there who grow up saying, I want to be a musician, I want to be an actor, I want to be a writer, I want to invent something. Now, lots and lots of them don't, and they might end up, doing things they never wanted to do. But actually, a hell of a lot of them, they do. And I suppose if I meet, because I do a lot of sport and I love sport and I mix in those sort of worlds, I meet loads and loads and loads and loads of people who say, I'd really love to be a footballer, I'd really love to be a coach or whatever. And of course, they're not all going to make it, but a hell of a lot do. And, and even if they don't, a lot of them have a lot of fun trying. So I think you've got to really want to do it, and then you've got to really go for it.